All right, good morning, everybody. So we're continuing on looking at how we're going to come up with our design for our principles of design form. So the next thing on the list is we're going to choose two for emphasis. So it says choose two, so we got to pick two of the following. So you can show emphasis in scale and have something big or small next to each other. You can have contrast and color to help emphasize, and you can have contrast and density to help emphasize. So it just kind of depends on, what two you want to do. So whichever two you decide that you want to do, go ahead and just like circle those ones or underline them, but somehow like emphasize, right? What you plan to do. Now, I'm for sure going to do contrast and colors. So like I talked about in the last video, I think I'm going to do a purple background with a yellow letters, because I think that would look really nice and that would emphasize that part. So remember from way back up at the top is how are you going to show it? Like, well, for this one, I'm going to color it, right? So I'm going to say color it, right? And then it asked me what materials am I going to use. Now I was thinking about that, and I really like doing, like I said, over here, the watercolors for the background and then the colored pencils for the yellow letters. Now I already wrote that down up there. But this is just one of those things. So I'm just going to say watercolor background and colored pencil letters. Okay. And then I'm going to put purple and yellow just because that's the last part, the describe it, right? So I want to make sure I describe it yellow. Okay, so now the other two that I can choose from, I can choose scale or I can choose contrast and density. So remember, density is how close together something is. So I think what I'm going to do is I think in this section right here in my balance, I'm going to use colors, and I'm going to do little colored circles, and I'm going to make them really dense right in the middle, and then I'm going to gradually spread them out. So it's really dense in the middle and then really thin towards the outside. So I think that's where I'm going to use it. Now, I'm the teacher. I still had to think about that for a little bit because I was like, well, I've already got some stuff. Where am I going to put this? I don't know. And really thinking about it helped me out. So cool. So for the density, like I said, I'm going to color it because I'm going to use my colored pencils to add. So I'm going to do color it again. Color it. Because I'm going to add that in where the balance is. So I'm going to list over here. So for balance, the symmetrical balance. So the symmetrical balance, where that is, the kind of, background, I'm going to fade dots, or like cluster dots. And I'm going to use colored pencil for that. Colored pencil. Ooh, or maybe I'm going to use colored pens for that. I want to use pens because I think that would be kind of fun to have, because then they can kind of bleed together or something. I think that would be neat. So the next thing on the list is contrast. So choose two again. So how do you want to show contrast? Now you can, if you have already used contrast, hey, look, I already used color contrast. So I'm going to say, I'm going to use that again, and I'm going to color it. And then I'm going to be like, and this one again, because I'm going to use that color to really make this area stand out. I'm going to show the contrast in that. Now you have to show it in two ways though. So now I could either go for value or I could go for shape. So it kind of depends on how you want to do it. So I'm thinking what I might do is maybe I'll be all, teacherly and do both. So I think for right here, I've got these teardrop shapes that are kind of rounded, and then I have these little spikes. So I think for my other contrast, I think that's kind of a contrast in shape, but it's not really emphasized. It doesn't super stand out. unless I make it stand out by changing the values. So I think for that one, I might try to have like, maybe I'll have like a really, really light color in here and then a really dark color next to it. So that'll help make it emphasized. So I'm gonna have value be my other contrast, because I'm going to use value to contrast between these shapes, although I'm kind of using shapes too, but I'm going to color it. So I'm going to color it again. And then, so my description for this one, so on my asymmetry area, I'm going to have really light and really dark areas. So I think that's how I'm gonna do it. And I'm gonna see, I think I'm gonna use colored pencils again. That's my plan. Now, if your plan, you know, as you're going, if your plan changes, if you're like, oh wait, I really love doing watercolors and I already have some, then, you know, maybe that's what you're gonna do. I don't know, right? So go ahead and fill this section out. Think about what it is you're trying to do. You know, how do you think you want to do it? But really think about that and figure out what you want to add on before moving on to the next step. All right. So get this area filled out. Okay. Thanks, everybody.